So welcome. I think we can commence on the next equity case. My name is Laurits Kjærgaard, equity analyst at the ABG Copenhagen office. It's my pleasure to introduce North Media, represented by both Kåre, Henrik, and Lasse, and I think they will do a quick introduction to themselves. And to all the participants, you should have the research on our introduced platform, and which you should have free access to. So without further ado, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Laurits. And thank you to you all for joining us today. We have looked forward to presenting our annual report 2020 together with our goals for the 21 and also as first time in this annual report, also our ambitions going a bit more forward for 22 and 23. Next slide, please. My name is Kåre Vig. I'm the Group Executive Director and CFO. And with us today is also Lasse Brodt, who is the CEO of the FK distribution business, and Henrik Løve Jensen, who is the CEO of the North Media Online. As I said, we will talk you through the 2020 highlights, the guidance for 21, as well as our strategy for the upcoming 3 years. Next slide, please. So 2020 for North Media, what was that really about? It was obviously a year of great contrasts. In our company, in the country, in the world, we are battling COVID-19, and yet we in North Media, we had a very good year with best EBIT performance ever. Our revenue was by and large unchanged, 1.045 billion in 2020, which is the same level as 2019. And for those of us that don't know us so well, bear in mind that the reason why there's a slight drop between 18 and 19, as you can see in the slide, is because we in 2020 have sold off our newspaper activities. So going back that to 18, the revenue is actually at the same level. But by and large in 2020, the overall story is that the revenue of FK was down by a couple of %, and we had high growth rates in our online BK activities. As I said, it was the best EBIT performance ever for the North Media Group, 240 million, up from 166 million in 2019. And what's that really? Because of going from 2 to 1 in FK distribution, Lasse will come back to that in a minute, and also an upward trend in double-edged margins in both online and big and FK business. We are fortunate with a strong cash flow. Traditionally, we've also had a strong cash flow in 2020. We didn't see a big impact from the COVID-19. And bottom line, we also had best ever year, up almost 50% to 307 million. A big part of that is, of course, because of the EBIT, but also because we had a high return on our securities. 155 million kroner, or almost 38%, was the reason behind that. And bottom line for our shareholders is that the board will suggest to the AGM that we pay out a dividend of 5 kroner per share for 2020. That would correspond to a yield of a little more than 6% based on the share price at the end of the year. So now we'll go a bit more into the businesses, and Lasse, will you take it from here?
Yes, sure I will. Thank you, Kåre. And as Kåre said, my name is Lasse. I'm the CEO of FK Distribution. In 2020, we at FK had focused on strengthening our business areas so that we can maintain the very strong core business and focus on developing services and solutions in new markets. In the core business, we have optimized our distribution windows. We did that at the beginning of 2020, which has had a positive effect of the overall business at FK. It manifested itself with a significant improvement in EBIT. In the second quarter of 2020, the volume declines around 15% because of the COVID-19. Both the number of free weeklies, newspapers were decreasing, and also the ad volume in the free weeklies, and therefore also the number of advertising pages in the weeklies. Despite the corona, the turnover of unaddressed leaflets was roughly at the same level as expected, whereas the turnover from 3 weekly newspapers was less than expected. Despite Corona, we increased our EBIT by 35% or 62 million Danish kroner to a level just below 234 million Danish kroner. In the new business areas, which includes digital platforms, selected mails, direct mails and magazine mail, as well as packaging of leaflets for other distributors, have overall made a larger contribution to FK's overall business in 2020. At the end of the year, we choose to shut down daily to focus even deeper on our core business. And I think, Henrik, will you continue with North Media Online digital services?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as Kåre mentioned, my name is Henrik, and I'm in charge of our online businesses. First of all, I'll touch upon our online businesses, Boligportal and Ofir, and I'll also share some highlights on BK, our digital access platform company. When it comes to Boligportal, this is the leading Danish housing rental platform. We have a strong market leading position in Denmark. We're building a position in Sweden on our Swedish brand Bostadsportal. Ofir is the number 2 job platform in Denmark. We have a unique multi-channel platform across job portals and social media with Ofir. So I think that we have with Boligportal and Ofir two strong businesses with a promising future. I'll dig into BK a little later. When it comes to the financials, we saw Boligportal and Ofir have revenue up by 20% last year, with the Ofir 24% up, and Boligportal as the biggest and most mature company up by 19%. We saw a threefold increase in our EBIT in Boligportal and Ofir on overall level, with an EBIT margin of 22.3 totally. Boligportal's EBIT margin was 34% last year, and then Ofir went profitable in the last part of 2020, and we expect the full year profitability this year. The results was fueled by increased activities and new services across Boligportal and Ofir. We have had more rentals in our rental platform. We've launched new services to landlords and tenants as well. And in Ofir, we have improved the efficiency quite a lot, having been able to service more customers and more candidates finding a new job the last year. Next slide, please. If we look at the next slide, please. Yeah, got that. If we look at the Boligportal, that is our leading digital business right now. We have a housing rental platform, and it's not just a marketplace where you advertise a free flat or a room for tenants. It is actually what we're doing here is that we're building an end-to-end rental platform where we have a marketplace where you can advertise a free rental. You could also, as a landlord, have help from us doing your administration in a more efficient and digital way, doing digital rental contracts, digital move-in reports, and services like that. And then we run complementary services for tenants. When you move in, you need electricity, you need internet and stuff like that. You can easily order that through our rental contracts, etc. And everything is centered around data, where we collect data and use data to reinforce the services for landlords and tenants respectively. And we have launched a brand new platform mid-January this year, and this will be from where we ramp up new services across Denmark and Sweden in Boligportal. And as I mentioned, by now we have a strong position in Denmark. Revenue is still growing 15%. We were up by 60% in Sweden, and we have good margins and EBIT which is up by 72% for the last year. Next slide, please. We'll dig into BK. BK is the leading Danish provider of digital access solutions. We serve municipalities in the home care sector in Denmark and Norway as well, where we help municipalities get access to disabled and elderly people's homes. This part of the business is went profitable last year, and we continue growing from there. And the second part of the business is the stairwell segment, where we help suppliers of goods and packages get access to doorsteps, so that people can have services and goods delivered at home. We see an increasing demand in that sector, and we have been investing heavily in that in Greater Copenhagen, and are about to prove the case there, looking to sign more suppliers this year. And in that business segment we are building up, we have a coverage of 200,000 multi-story units in Greater Copenhagen, share of more than 50% of the units in Copenhagen, and we plan to expand that further this year. That's all from Produktion, Ofir, and BK. Kåre?
Thank you, Henrik. So now we are leaving 2020 and look a bit more. We will look a bit more into what's the group strategy going forward for the next 3 years. I'll run through the main ambitions for the group, and then we'll dig into each of the businesses in a minute. First of all, it's important to mention that we have introduced some new segments now in the 21 and going forward. The first one is last mile delivery, which is actually FK distribution, and the other one is digital services, which is then bolaget, Ofir, and BK that Henrik just talked about. And why have we done that? That's because North Media is actually two things. One thing is last mile, which is a stable, well-earning, high EBIT margin business, whereas the digital services, we see a higher growth, increasing and improving EBIT margins, and also more scalability options going further internationally once we have completed doing the plans in Denmark. So that's the reason why the segmentation will be last mile and digital services going forward. So what are the overall ambitions? One thing is for the digital services, we do expect to see around 20% growth annually for those three businesses, together with the scalability options as I just talked about. And in terms of last mile, yes, it's a stable business, but there's still things to do in terms of automation, introduce new products, packaging services. Lasse will talk in a minute more about some interesting cooperation with Deutsche Post. Still lots of things to do within the last mile business as well. And then we've also look a bit more into acquisitions that will primarily be within the digital services. And group-wise then, what do we see in terms of growth and margins? We see an organic growth from 22 of around 3%, and we will see an increase in the EBIT margins up to around 24% in 23. So let's dig into the last mile strategy. Lasse?
For the last mile for 2021 to 2023, if we take a look into the last mile over the next 3 years, then we generally expect to maintain a very strong position and subsequently also strong earnings. Specific for 2021, we continue to focus on optimizing the core business and the operation. Corona is affecting most of our customers who had to keep their stores closed in January and February in Denmark. However, many has developed click and collect solutions and have removed some of their media investments, but they maintained their leaflets, their unaddressed leaflets. Right now, some of the stores in Denmark has opened again, where others have continued to close completely. The grocery stores and supermarkets in Denmark have increased their sales significant in this period. For the 3 weekly newspapers, we expect that the lack of advertising sales will continue to result in thin and light newspapers as long as Corona affects our society. We will increase our focus on acquiring new business by increasing our presence in selected mail, and not at least by further developing of our collaboration with Deutsche Post in Germany. Overall, we expect that Corona in particular will have some significance for the top and bottom line, and therefore we guide the turnover to 840 to 870 million Danish kroner, and the EBIT in the range of 210 to 230 Danish million kroner. In 22 and 23, we will have continued focus on the core business. We will increase in selected mail and direct mail. We will grow in Germany and explore other opportunities to create business internationally. We will do that on the base of green technology and green products that we have developed in Denmark over the last 8 to 10 years. Overall, it's our ambition to be able to maintain our strong business throughout the period, stabilize revenue, and deliver a profit margin of around 24%. Henrik?
Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. If we look into the digital services, Boligportal, Aktier, and Bekey, our strategic focus areas is that by now we had 3 focused businesses with great digital platforms and infrastructure, and I think that we are now on the path of reinforcing this growth that we've seen for the past year. We also seen that we can do a growth of 20% revenue, and we can have high EBIT margins in, for example, Boligportal, when we do things right. So we will continue to scale that in our home market in Denmark with more products, more volumes, and more customers on board. But we will also seek opportunities internationally. We are on the Swedish market with the Boligportal, and we are in Norway with Bekey, and I think that we will strive to go further international with our platforms. We have great platforms differentiating themselves in the market in Denmark and also in Norway and Sweden by now. So we'll see to go from there. As Kåre mentioned, we have reserved funding for acquisitions up to 200 million kroner. We say in our reporting. And what we're looking for is opportunities that can create synergy to our existing businesses in the current markets that we are in, so that maybe go deeper in the value chain in the companies like Boligportal, for example. But we will also look for international opportunities, helping us to scale faster abroad. If we look at the guidance for 2021, we're looking at raising the revenue to between 145 and 155, and have the EBIT go up further. And we are looking a bit further ahead, 22, 23, to have this 20% annual growth rate on an overall level, excluding acquisitions, and an EBIT margin of 25%. Next slide, please. The main areas that we're looking at in Boligportal is that we will continue launching integrated services in this end-to-end rental platform to reinforce our position with the landlords and also help the tenants have an efficient way and secure way to find a place to live. And we will continue to secure stable income and revenue streams with the recurring revenue, such as subscription services for landlords and tenants, and also software service business models in a more advanced way than we have had up until now, and we are doing that right now. Then, of course, the new platform that we have launched, we will roll out the service concepts and service agreements that we develop in Denmark and Sweden on the same platform. Of course, with a few moderations, so that we have a product market fit in Sweden and Denmark, respectively. In Aktier, we don't have a big market share in Denmark, but I think that we have huge opportunities to grow from where we are now. We have a strong data-driven core. We deliver great effect to our customers. So I think that we building on the position that we have in the public sector, we can grow that. But we have huge chunks in the private sector that we can and shall win in the coming years. We will continue optimizing the platform and use data in a more clever way, so that we can be more precise, delivering better sales rates and also effect to our customers. And then we have still some work to do by having the Aktier brand be more visible out there. In BK, we will still invest heavily in having greater coverage in Greater Copenhagen and look for market entry in other big cities in order to strengthen our position in the stairwell segment, so that we can have more fuel the home distribution business. And I hope that we later this year can disclose some of the contracts that we are dealing with right now. So we will have more activity on this platform. And as I mentioned, more focus on internationalization as well. See if we have opportunities in the home care segment and the stairwell concept as well abroad. Next slide, please.
And then let me just summarize the ambitions for 22 and 23 with a number perspective, as I am the CFO. Overall, for all our group, we see a 3% annual organic growth rate going forward. So when we say organic, this means that should we acquire businesses, that would not be included in this ambition for the revenue going forward. And as I said, this growth rate is based on a stable revenue in the last mile businesses and around 20% growth rate in the digital services. EBIT margin-wise, we see it go up to around 24% in 23 for the group. And as we have also illustrated here, we see a stable, high EBIT margin for the last mile business and an improving EBIT margin going forward for the digital services up to 25% in 2023. And then for the dividend side, I mentioned we plan to pay out 5 kroner per share for 2020. It's also the ambition to, when and if we fulfill these ambitions for 22-23, it's also the ambition to pay out a dividend of 5 kroner per share for each of the financial years 21 to 23. The next slide, please. So in the near term, what's the expectations and the guidance for 21? We have looked at the expectations for last mile and digital services. I'll just add to this, just on the back of the 22-23 ambitions. The reasons why we see a slightly decline in the revenue in last mile in 21 is because of the COVID. This is also why we do expect that the second half of this year will be stronger than the first half because of the COVID. And the reason why we also see a revenue increase in digital services in 21 of around 14% and not the 20 I just mentioned, that's because there is some delay also in the introduction of the new platform in bolaget that Henrik just talked about. So therefore, we will also see a second half being stronger than the first half. So overall for the group, we expect a slightly lower revenue between 985 and 1,025, down from 1,045 this year, and an EBIT at around the same level between 230 and 255, where we did 240 this year. So slightly lower revenue and EBIT on par with 2020. And next slide. The last thing I'll share with you is that we have also in 2020 done some work in terms of our approach to sustainability. And we have performed a general mapping of our role as employer, market player, corporate citizen, you will. And the board has established a sustainability committee that in 21 will establish sustainability targets for each of these areas that we have now identified. So we look forward to coming back with more on this at a later stage. This was what we had planned.
Super. Thank you very much for the very detailed presentation. Henrik, you mentioned, and you can only expect a question when you say something like that, is that in terms of DK, you're working on in the stairwell segment on new collaborations to roll out maybe 2021. Is this companies like packaging companies that you imagine, like Bring.dk, UPS, these types of companies, or is it which segment should we be looking at?
I think that we're looking at all sectors delivering goods and services for people's homes in greater cities. So I think that we have a lot of interesting dialogues going on, and as I mentioned before, we hope to be able to disclose that later this year. But what we've seen is that we've really seen the interest from the consumers pick up on this, and we've also seen this going up further as a result of COVID-19, where people expect to have more things delivered at home. So definitely see a trend there.
So we'll understand more maybe in the second half of this year, or at least later in the year. A question for you, Lasse. Obviously, digital services is a small part of FK Distribution. You do sell some through different services. Is there no M&A opportunities within your spectrum? Now we've talked about the 200 million with the online services, but I guess FK Distribution, is there no M&A options within your field?
In the digital business of FK, it's a little hard to see the opportunities. But in general, there will be some possible ways to make a consolidation of this market, the physical market for distribution. But it's a little early to go deeper into that. We are screening right now our possible ways to go in that matter. But right now, the focus is on having a stronghold on our core business. And developing in Germany, as I spoke to earlier in this meeting.
And the revenue from Germany doesn't have the significant impact in 2021. Can we expect sort of in the strategy you rolled out to be a larger portion of your business? And you know.
Yes, but it will not be a game changer standing alone. It will not. But it's a way down in Europe for us, so you can say.
Okay. And for you, Henrik, sorry about this call, but now we'll talk about the businesses. For you, Henrik, maybe just a question on that you're turning your model into subscription-based model to get more recurring revenue. As I understand, you also get less seasonality in your business. Could you just talk about the transition from the first half to the second half of 2021, where it's a little bit slow in the first half?
Yeah, of course. But what we see is basically that we have this very strong position with the rental platform in Denmark, but mainly as a marketplace. What we want to do is that we want to expand this from just being a marketplace to an end-to-end platform where we help landlords and tenants throughout their journey together in the property. So what we have done now is that we have basically looked at our data and looked at our product roadmap. We have been pulling out some traditional revenue streams, made some of them free in order to have more volumes in our business, and then we will basically, as we go through 2021, introduce more and more subscription-like revenue streams. So this is why we are kind of backloaded there, but it's done in a controlled manner.
Super, that makes great sense. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, Kåre, Lasse, and Henrik for joining us today, and have a great afternoon from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening. Thank you for joining.